So just to give you a few statistics, so PayPal last year processed $285 billion in payment volume globally. And what that is, it's about 17% of global e-commerce. Global e-commerce is about 1.2, 1.3 trillion. But what's amazing about, you think that that's a big number, what's amazing is the phone is now changing the definition of commerce, right? Because now a lot of people, like I just shared with you, are buying a gemstone, and you could actually be selling me a gemstone right now in a market in Thailand, and I can actually send you money this way, and so I'm not transferring cash, but I'm actually doing it electronically. So commerce is actually a $25 trillion market. And so the phone is really blurring the lines between what is e-commerce and what is commerce. Every country here is very different, right? They're regulated differently. The e-commerce growths are different. The financial services sector are at different stages of evolution. And so, when you're thinking about a country like Japan, which is, e-commerce is 120 billion, and it's extremely mature, right? And then you look at other countries where, like Thailand and Indonesia, where the growth is happening rapidly, and it's a much smaller e-commerce right now, but it's growing very rapidly. So each country has a different customer need. In certain countries, safety, security is really important. In Japan, as an example, mobile technologies are really important. And so risk management plays a big role for us. So what we do when we look at certain countries, like in Thailand, for example, a lot of the gemstone merchants and the travel merchants and in the industry basically want to just accept cards from everywhere else around the world, and want to accept money. And so we basically make sure that we let them do that in a very safe way. If you go to a country like Japan, everybody, the mobile penetration is extremely high. And so people really want to make sure that they have a very easy way to make payments in apps or on a phone. And so the needs, whether I use technology or risk or certain policies, are very different depending on the country that we're operating in. What we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that we can use technology to take out the operational inefficiencies and the costs, the extra costs associated with managing accounts for the underserved, right, as well. Not underbanked, underserved. And so a lot of the times we find that, people, it's about, $50 that is the difference between going from one paycheck to the next, right? And that extra cash is just so important. So how can we bridge the gap for a lot of these people in a very cost-efficient way? And so these are we can use technology to reduce costs, improve customer service and satisfaction, and take more risk as well in the process. We had a discussion about talent and people. I think people are the lifeblood of the company, right? And hiring entrepreneurs and hiring people who understand the local markets is something that we always try to figure out how to do that best, because that is the toughest part actually about operating especially in this region. We talked about people going expats and people coming here and repatriation, et cetera, but it is really about how do you hire the people who understand and can speak the local language and market, and at the same time make sure that they're looking to how to disrupt things and how to do things differently. And then the third thing is, how do you ensure that they actually scale? Because as I mentioned, this company has been growing over the last 11 years that I've been here at about 30% every single year for the last 11 years. And so if you think of an individual, right, in 3 years, that company has doubled, right? So you as an individual, if you hire somebody, can that person triple in 3 years? Because they need to stay ahead of the curve. And I think that has been the biggest challenge, is hiring the right people, and then of course keeping them, and making sure that they're not only scaling with the business, but they're actually pulling the business in the direction that you want it to get into. And that's quite frankly how this company has evolved. Just as an example, when I joined, and I thought, when I was in a startup before, and then I joined, I thought I'd only be here for 2 years, and now 11 years gone by. We were just, in 2004, PayPal was 100% in the US, 100%, and 100% of all the transactions that they were processing were on eBay. Okay. And then about 2006, 2007, a lot of the people said, look, we need to start now moving off eBay and start processing for merchants who are not on eBay. Okay. And so we started building new technologies and capabilities that enable that to happen. And then, of course, we said, look, we need to now go outside the US. And so over the last 11 years, we've gone from more than 50% of our volume is now outside the US, and more than 50% is actually outside of eBay. Okay, and so the people in the organization started doing a lot of that stuff. I mean, specifically, I had the privilege of, before coming and running APAC, to actually run Latin America. So, literally there was nobody in Latin America, and we were seeing a lot of customer traction and people wanting to use us. So we ended up opening up offices there. And now we have a very good thriving business in Brazil and Mexico and in the whole Latin America region. And that's about the people who've gone there, who've identified problems to solve, inefficiencies in the market, and have then used our capabilities in technology and in risk to actually go and solve those problems there.